is ready. All right. Shabbat Shalom. And there's just the four of us here. Do we have anybody?
Not so far.
Okay, so we're going to engage with the service. There are some things that, because of the number of people that we have here, that we will not be doing tonight, but that's okay. We will start on page 2, and with the lighting of the Shabbat candles. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Yes, Rabbi was supposed to be here tonight, but the problem was she had something to do with her daughter, and she was afraid she would not make it in time. I would rather that she spent time with her daughter, as she'll never get that time back. Her daughter's doing a performance, and I told her that I would handle the services. Okay. We turn to page 6, where we will read together at the top of the page. We enter the sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. We're going to go to page 30. The reason we're not doing the Baruch is technically you're supposed to do the Baruch with a minyan, and we don't have one today, so we will skip to page 30, in the middle of the page, and we will read together. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. On page 32, we will sing Ahavat Olam together. Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Amcha Ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Al Kain Adonai Eloheinu b'shakabenu uvkumenu nasiach bechukecha v'nismach b'divrei Toratcha v'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. Ki hem chayenu ve'orech yameinu uvahem nege yomam balayla, nege yomam balayla, ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, Ohev Amo Yisrael. On page 34, we rise for the watchword of our faith, the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem, Kevod Malchuto, Le'olam Va'ed. Please be seated. We're going to turn to page 36, where we will chant together the V'ahavta. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha uv'chol nafshecha uv'chol meodecha v'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha Veshinantam levanecha, vedibarta bam, beshiftecha beveitecha, uvlechtecha vaderech, uveshochbecha uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam, Al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha leman tiskeru ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. We're going to turn to page 39, and we will read responsively from the middle of the page. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. From bondage in Egypt, we were delivered. At Sinai, we bound ourselves to your way.
Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces.
Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed.
Let us continue to work for the day when nations will be at one and at peace, and then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Page 40, Micha Mocha. Micha Mocha Ba'elim Adonai, Micha Mocha Ne'edar Ba'kodesh, Nora Tehilot Ose Feler, Malchutecha Ra'uvanecha, Bokeyam Lifnei Moshe uMiriam, Ze'eli Anu Ve'amru, Adonai Yimloch Le'olam Va'ed. In the middle of that page, well, really, the last paragraph, I'm going to read that in English, and then we will say the prayer in the Hebrew at the bottom. Thus it is said, Adonai redeemed Jacob from a hand stronger than his own. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. Baruch atah Adonai, Goal Yisrael. We will now turn to page 43, and we will read together at the top of the page. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up, waiting to do your will. Baruch atah Adonai, haporei sukat shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. We're going to turn to page 46, where we are going to do the tefillah. I will open the ark, so we do need to rise if you can rise. If you can't, nobody is going to judge you for that. Ben Avraham, Bezrat Sarah, page 50. Ata Gibor Leolam Adonai, Mechaye HaKol Ata Rav Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach HaMorid HaGashem, Mechalkel Chaim Bechesed, Mechaye HaKol Berachamim Rabbi, Somech Noflim Verofet Olim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato, Lishene Afar, Milchamocha Baal Gevurot, Umidom Melach, Melech Memit, Umechaye, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman ata l'hachayot hakol, Baruch ata Adonai, Mechaye hakol. 52. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yalalu hasela, Baruch ata Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. Please be seated. Okay. We're going to go to page 55, the middle of the page. We'll read responsively. Disturb us, Adonai. Ruffle us from our complacency. Make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from the shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, both physical and spiritual, of humans.
Shock us, Adonai, denying to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusion and satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred.
Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears.
Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of wicked, and that the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality.
Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. On page 56, we're going to read the first paragraph in English. Find favor, Adonai, our God, with your people Israel, and accept their prayer in love. May the worship of your people Israel always be acceptable. God, who is near to all who call, turn lovingly to your servants. Pour out your Spirit upon us. We're going to turn to page 58. I'm going to read the first portion in Hebrew, then we will read the paragraph in English below it, and then we'll finish with the prayer at the bottom. Modim anachnu lach she'atahu Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu le'olam va'ed. Sur chayenu, magen yish'enu, atahu ledor vador. נודה לך ונספר תהילתך על חיינו המסורים בידיך, ועל נשמותינו הפקודות לך, ועל ניסיך שבכל יום עמנו, ועל נפלותיך וטובותיך שבכל עת, ערב ובוקר וצהריים. הטוב כי לא חלו רחמך, והמרחם כי לא תמו חסדיך, מעולם קיווינו לך. Together in the English. We acknowledge with thanks that you are Adonai, our God, and the God of our ancestors forever. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation in every generation. Let us thank you and praise you for our lives which are in your hand, for our souls which are in your care, for your miracles that we experience every day, and for your wondrous deeds and favors at every time of day, evening, morning, and noon. O good one, whose mercies never end, O compassionate one, whose kindness never fails, we forever put our hope in you. At the bottom together, Baruch atah Adonai, hatov shimcha ulecha na'eh lehodot. On page 60, we'll do Shalom Rav together, which is a beautiful prayer. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tov ve'enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael v'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Shalom rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. We're going to go to page 253. And as I never tire of saying this, although I should be tired of saying this, I think this prayer is the essence of Judaism. When we're praying for the welfare of our loved ones, our friends, and our Mishaberach list in April 2024, Lev Diekerman, Teresa Todd, Paul Tackett, Al Unger, Beth Haberman, Franz Skull, Robin Unger, Alvin Kassan, Glenn Fasnacht, David Rosenberg, Jim Todd, Carlson Peters, Raul Hernandez, Eddie Abraham, Sharon Gould, Jay Tyson, Fran Gersh, Evan Gershkovich, still in a Soviet jail. I said Soviet, Russian jail. Dixie Lermit, Andrea Coven, Cherry Stuman, Benjamin McDonald, Diane Levine, the hostages who have been held in Gaza for over 196 days, all who are recovering from physical, emotional, and psychological wounds as a result of the October 7th terrorist attack, victims of the war between Israel and Hamas, both sides of the conflict, and our military who protect us. If there's anybody else that you would like to add, I'm going to point out. By the way, I'm going to thank you, Jim, because of you, it finally sank in that we should be adding our armed forces every week. You've been doing it, but we need to have it here. At this point, we're going to talk about the Parsha of the week. Now, oh, we didn't sing the Mishabeh. Oh, good Lord. Whew. Thank you.
Jim, I'm glad to know I was the only one that thought that we would miss something.
But it only took me 6 or 7 years to get the point. Okay. And considering that I have many relatives in the Israeli army.
Don't lock me in this week again.
Pardon?
Don't lock me in this week.
Yes, sir. I'll let him explain that to you later. Together. Mi sheberach avoteinu mekor habracha le'imotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. Okay. Pardon? As I was saying, and thank you both for bringing it up. I can't believe I skipped it, but old age brings its own set of problems. I never thought I would forget that, though. Okay, now, the issue with the part of the Bible that we're in is it's a whole bunch of thou shalt and thou shalt not. And that's the best way of putting it. And it's quite dry. I didn't have a whole lot of time to prepare something because I got the call from Rabbi late Wednesday night. But I'm extremely grateful. I went through several explanations. And I did have to go back to Rabbi Sachs in order to find out how we can relate this to modern times. Okay, now first let me tell you what is actually written in a synopsis. I like the way they put it, parsha in passing. Last week, we were introduced to the condition of the Mitzorah, the person struck with a biblical disease of tzara'at, a physical skin rash representing spiritual impurity. It doesn't necessarily mean leprosy. Now, there are some rabbis that tzara'at is not just a physical manifestation, but also a spiritual and emotional one. I can't speak to that. I didn't see it, but you know what? That's why they're rabbis and I'm not. The ceremony for a Mitzorah conducted by a Kohen involves 2 birds, water from a spring held in a clay pot, cedar wood, our scarlet wool strand, and hyssop. Another form of tzara'at can affect a house, manifesting as reddish-green stains on its walls. The Kohen examines these stains and then has up to 19 days to decide whether the home can be cleaned or whether it must be torn down. That'd be a little more difficult these days. The Torah then discusses other sources of ritual impurity, such as the bodily discharges in men and women, which require purification through immersion in a mikvah. Now, the thing about the tzara'at, which is interesting about it, you can be cleansed of the affliction. You can have undergone the proper sacrifices, proper ceremonies, but you are not considered clean until the chief priest, the Kohen HaGadol, says you are. Until the priest says you, your house, or anyone else is clean, you are not considered clean. That's interesting because literally you're talking about the power of speech to determine whether you're clean or unclean. And that is where Rabbi Sachs came in after looking at the different explanations. Most of them were explanations of the actual text. Rabbi Sachs basically seized upon the fact that it's the written word that ultimately determines your status in this case. And this is the way I'm going to read a couple of things, and some of the others I will paraphrase. But the first sentence that Rabbi Sachs wrote was, God created the world with words, and he gave us the power to create and destroy relationships with words. Now, there's 2 terms in Hebrew, lashon hara, literally evil language or evil tongue. And we often learn about lashon hara. But the rabbi said virtually nothing about lashon tov, which is, tov is good. Good tongue, good language. If it is a sin to talk badly about people, is it a mitzvah to speak well about them? Rabbi Sachs teaches that it is, and gave the example of Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, who used to give individualized praise to each of his 5 students. Now, another rabbi, because I don't care If you've got, the old joke, if you've got 2 Jews, you have 3 opinions and 4 synagogues. But this Rav Dimi said that Rabbi Yochanan's praise contradicted a Talmudic principle. And Rav Dimi said, "Let no one ever talk in praise of his neighbor, for praise will lead to criticism." Now, Rashi thought this had to do about the nature of the praise and whether the praise is accurate, authentic, or overstated. If the former, it is permitted. If it's overly effusive, it is forbidden. But the Rambam sees this a little bit differently, and this is an interesting thing to say. Whoever speaks well about his neighbor in the presence of his enemies is guilty of a secondary form of evil speech called avak lashon hara, since he will provoke them to speak badly about him. According to the Rambam, the issue is not whether the praise is moderate or excessive, but the context, whether you're in front of somebody's enemies or their friends. If it's done in the presence of the friends, it's permitted. Done in presence of the enemies, it is not, because it can enable them to speak in a negative way. Now Rabbi Sachs asks a question: are these merely 2 opinions, or is there something deeper at stake? So this is, according to Rabbi Sachs, this is a debate about the nature of language itself. Okay? Do we think of language as a way of making true and false statements, or can we see language in another way? We can use our words to encourage, empathize, motivate, and inspire, or we can use it to discourage, disparage, criticize, and depress. Language does more than convey information. It conveys emotions. It creates or disrupts a mood. Now that was a quote from Rabbi Sachs. So he's basically stating that when you're using speech, it involves social and emotional intelligence. For Rashi, the critical question about praise was, is it true or excessive? For the Rambam, the question is, what is the context? Is it being said amongst enemies or friends? Will it create warmth and esteem, or envy and resentment? Now, Rabbi Sachs, after asking that question, returns to Yochanan ben Zakkai. He says how he would praise his students. The Mishnah is telling us something profound. Pirkei Avot, sayings of our fathers, begins with the advice to raise many disciples. How do you create them? How do you inspire people to become what they could be, to reach the full measure of their potential? By acting as Rabbi Yochanan, praising your students, showing them their specific strengths. Rabbi Yochanan took a Rambam-style view of praise. He used it not so much to describe as to motivate, and that is Lashon Tov. Evil speech diminishes us, while good speech helps us grow. Evil speech puts people down, while good speech lifts them up. Focused, targeted praise, informed by considered judgment of individual strengths and sustained by faith in people and their potential, is what makes teachers great, and their disciples greater than they would otherwise have been. According to the Rambam, Lashon Tov follows the command of love your neighbor as yourself. The Pirkei Avot says it's one way of raising many disciples. It is as creative as Lashon Hara is destructive. Seeing the good in people and telling them so is a way of helping it become real, nurturing their personal growth. We praise God, we must praise people too. Only Rabbi Sachs could have found this interpretation. And I think that's part of what his greatness was, that he could take an ordinary dry parsha and find something that applies to us today, and especially in these times. It's always a good thing to be prudent in what comes out of one's mouth, which is advice that I could take more often. Now, well, it's true. I mean, I admit that I'm a little bit temperamental at times. Now, for the announcements, Shabbat services will begin tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. For those attending the Temple Shalom Seder, it will begin promptly at 6 p.m. on Tuesday evening. They put the promptly in italics. I'm not going to yell, okay, but I'm just letting you know. They're planning to start on time. I hope this wasn't aimed at you, AW. Okay. The Temple Shalom office will be closed on Tuesday, April 23rd in observance of Passover. The Passover Yizkor service will be held on Tuesday, April 30th at 10:30 a.m. This coming Monday, we will not be holding our weekly bingo game since it's Erev Pesach. Temple Shalom is sponsoring a table for this year's Mosaic Awards dinner, the annual JFCS fundraiser. This year's dinner will be held on Tuesday, May 14th at 6 p.m. at the Melwood Arts Center. If you'd like to join the Temple Shalom table, the discounted cost is only $100 per person. Please contact Rabbi by email if you would like a seat at the table. Hadassah is sponsoring a program dealing with the sexual violence against Israeli women that occurred on October 7th. The program will take place on Sunday, April 28th at the JCC. Please refer to this week's e-blast to register. Watts is honoring moms and others. In Southern, that's just called Mom and M's, and wants you to be a part of it all. Check out the flyer in the lobby to participate. I want to thank Rich for streaming services tonight. And we're going to have a brief oneg following the service. And Shabbat Shalom. We are going to go, tell you what, I need to discuss this with Rabbi, but we're going to go to page 294. We're not doing Aleinu tonight. And the reason is that we're technically not supposed to open this. The only reason that I opened this for our tefillah was because it's traditional to do it that way here, but actually in most conservative and Orthodox synagogues, they do not open the ark. But they do this prayer standing up, which we already did. At this point, I'm going to look. These are the Yortzeit records that we have for this week. Ben Kaplan, the grandfather of Carrie Kaplan. David Weilage, brother of Amy Shear. And then we have records of those with plaques, but nobody left to observe. Lucille Cohen, Diane Sharp, Jacqueline Bankhead Butler. In the period of Shloshim, we have Marilyn Harriet Kamchi, Senator Joe Lieberman, Julius Lozer. And we think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who died at this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. Please stand, page 294, as we recite the Kaddish. Together, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shmei Rabbah, Bi'alma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, B'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam le'olmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, da'amiran v'alma v'imru Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru Amen. Please be seated. We're going to end the service with bim bam. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Bim bam, bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom.